Today, we're diving into something pretty different. A framework that asks a wild question. What if you could find hidden stories and symbolic meaning inside of plain old numbers? It's a system that tries to build a bridge between the worlds of hard math and creative interpretation. I mean, think about it for a second. We use numbers all day, every day, to measure, to count, to make sense of things. But is that it? Is that all they are? Or could they, just maybe, be holding on to hidden patterns and stories that go way beyond just how many of something there is? Well, that very question is what led to this new framework we're looking at. It's designed to do just that, to connect math with meaning. It's called Transformatia Numeric Creative, which we'll just call T&K, and it's all built on this idea that, yeah, numbers can be a whole lot more than just math. So what exactly is T&K? You can think of it as a hybrid, kind of like a meeting point for two completely different ways of thinking. It takes the hardcore, undeniable precision of math and smashes it together with the creative, symbolic way we interpret the world. And the whole goal? To find hidden connections in data that you'd normally just completely miss. And this really gets to the core of the problem it's trying to fix. See, on one hand, you've got pure mathematics. It's solid, it's verifiable, you can trust it, but, it doesn't really have a lot to say about deeper meaning. On the other hand, you've got things like traditional numerology, which is swimming in symbolic meaning, but it doesn't have that strict formal structure. T&K is trying to be the bridge that connects them to get the best of both worlds. Now, this whole framework isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's actually standing on the shoulders of some pretty diverse and established fields. It borrows ideas from ancient practices like gematria, where letters have number values, and also from modern concepts like semiotics, which is basically the study of signs and symbols. The big idea that ties it all together is this assumption that when you manipulate numbers in creative ways, new, unexpected properties and meanings can just emerge. Okay, so that's the big picture theory. But how does it actually work? Well, the framework gives you what it calls a toolkit for meaning. It's basically a set of 5 core moves or tools that you can use on any number. So here are the 5 tools in the kit. You can stick numbers together to make bigger ones, or you can break them apart. You can use regular old math like multiplication. You can apply what it calls special functions that are tied to specific symbolic ideas. And finally, you can boil any number down to its core by adding up its digits. The real power here is that you can chain these tools together in all sorts of sequences. All right, enough with the theory and the tools. This is all a little abstract, right? So let's see this thing in action. We're going to walk through a case study from the source material and watch how T&K takes a simple starting number and transforms it step by step into a real insight. Now, what's really important to get is that this is a systematic process. It's not just playing with numbers randomly. No, it follows a pretty clear 5-step path. You start with a seed number, you apply a chain of your tools, you reduce the result down, you interpret what it means, and then you check your work to make sure the whole thing holds together. So for this specific example, the first step, initiation, starts with a seed that comes from a religious text. In this case, it's a verse from the Quran that talks about the creation of humans. This verse is going to give us the raw material for our entire transformation. Now, the source material has a whole method for pulling a number out of that verse. We're not going to get into all the details of that, but after the process is done, it gives us this, 76,923. This is our starting point. Let's see what they do with it. Okay, next up is the transformation step. Here they use one of those special functions we talked about. They multiply our number by 13. And this is so key. In this framework, 13 isn't just some random number. It was chosen for a very specific reason. It's believed to have a quality of spiritual amplification. And when you do that math, when you multiply our seed number by 13, the result is, well, wow, look at that. It's 999,999, 6 nines all in a row. Now, mathematically, that's just a number. But in a symbolic system like this one, a pattern that clean, that perfect, is basically screaming that something important is happening. It's pointing to an idea of completion. So we have this big, significant number. What's next? The reduction step. The goal here is to take this huge number and just distill it all the way down to its most basic, fundamental essence. And the tool for that job is digit summation. It's really simple. You just add the digits together. So we've got 6 nines. You add them all up, you get 54. But we're not done, because we need a single digit. So we do it again with that result. 5 plus 4, and there it is. Our final core digit is 9. And now we get to the payoff, the whole point of this journey, the interpretation. What does this final number 9 actually mean? Well, in this particular system, the number 9 is mapped to the concept of insan tobat, which translates to the repentant human. So the entire numerical journey, from a verse about creation all the way to the number 9, is seen as a symbolic story of humanity's spiritual path toward repentance. Now, that case study is obviously a very spiritual one, but that's just one example. The people behind this framework believe its potential could reach into all sorts of other fields, connecting the dots between data, divinity, and maybe even technology. I mean, think about it. In education, you could use this to make math feel less like a chore and more like a creative hunt for patterns. For spirituality, it's obviously a tool for deeper exploration. But the one that really gets you thinking is technology. The idea that these principles could actually help us build new AI algorithms, teaching them how to find not just patterns, but meaningful, symbolic patterns in huge amounts of data. That's a pretty big idea. When you really boil it all down, the whole framework is captured perfectly in this one quote from the source material. It says that TNK reimagines numbers, not as cold, hard facts, but as portals to creativity and divinity. And that really brings us to the final thought here. This whole framework is basically a structured way to try and turn raw data into something more like wisdom. So it kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? If you had a tool that could do that, what patterns would you want to look for in all the numbers that shape our world?